anxiety is the fear of the unknown, right? A lot of times when we try to look away from it, it becomes a boogeyman. It becomes a lot bigger than it needs to be. So the goal is to face that boogeyman, face that big bad wolf, and realize that it's just a puppy, or the boogeyman is just a coat in the closet.
Welcome to Running is Cheaper Than Therapy podcast. I am your host, Dr. Weta L. Brown. I inspire and promote movement. I explain how running adds to life from a mental wholeness aspect, how obstacles can be overcome in life to make it to your finish line. Welcome to Running is Cheaper Than Therapy, episode 40. Today, I welcome Alphonso Nathan. He is currently the vice president of a private counseling practice, Brightside Counseling, and the co-owner of a psychiatric practice, Brightside Medical Associates. Alphonso obtained his undergraduate degree in psychology at Bloomsburg University, where he also was a multi-year starter and all-conference letterman on the Bloomsburg University football team. Alphonso then obtained his graduate degree in clinical and counseling psychology at Chestnut Hill College. Prior to college, Alphonso attended the Milton Hershey School, a boarding school for at-risk youth. Because of his versatile background, Alphonso has taken specialties in many areas. He helps individuals deal with depression, anxiety, anger management, spectrum-based disorders. He also serves as a sports psychologist. He is a motivational speaker. He speaks throughout the United States. He is also the co-author of an upcoming book for therapists with a desire to go into private practice called Practice Success: Steps for Building and Maintaining a Successful Private Practice. Please welcome Alphonso Nathan. Again, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
So we have a few things in common. You're from Philly.
That's right. Yes.
I lived in Philly for 7 years. Mm-hmm. And you also, you played college football at Bloomsburg College?
Yes.
And I was the team physician for Westchester when I did my sports medicine fellowship. So what years were you there?
I was there from 2005 to 2009. Yeah.
So I was there because I was there from 2007 to 2008.
Oh, look at that. We've crossed paths in the past. Look at that. Small world.
And also I'm a diehard Eagles fan as well.
Me too. See, that's why we link. That's why we connect.
So did you play any other sports in college or high school other than football?
In high school, I played football in the fall. I wrestled in the winter, and I did track in the spring. We were really encouraged to be a 3-sport athlete to be well rounded. You want to make sure you're always active, but you don't want to get burnt out by just one sport.
What was your favorite? Or did you have one?
Football. Football is my favorite. So
what position did you play in football?
In college, I was a defensive end. I was much bigger than this. I was more of a speed rush, what they call. So you just go after the quarterback. And I went after the quarterback, and I would just taunt, and I would have fun. That's where I was at. You know, if you were on the Westchester sideline, you probably remembered me because I was okay. Right?
Did you have any significant injuries when you were in high school or college?
Absolutely. My freshman year in college, I tore my PCL.
Okay. Did you have to have surgery, or did they treat it non-operative?
It was non-operative. We just it was just a lot of just physical therapy in that. You know, when I first initially had that injury, it kind of slowed me down because, you know, once you get an injury like that, you know, you second guess your talent, you second guess, you know, your steps. So I had to overcome that. And then my senior year, I aggravated my PCL again, and then I had just ankle sprains upon ankle sprains. So high ankle sprain, low ankle sprain. So it was a tough senior year.
But you made it.
But I made it. I made it through. I pushed through.
So what attracted you to the field of psychology?
Absolutely. That's a great question. I went to this boarding school from eighth grade to 12th. It was for underprivileged youth. It was called Milton Hershey School. And it was a school that, pretty much changed lives. I wasn't originally from Philly. I was actually originally from Staten Island, New York. And it wasn't the best place for somebody with my potential growing up. Milton Hershey School changed my life. And so that was the first thing I knew, that intervention changed lives. So when I was going into college, I was initially a biology major because I was going to be a pediatrician. That was my thing. And then, but it just didn't interest me as much as my psychology classes. And so as I started researching more and more just about the benefits of psychology and just it's underrepresented in the Black communities as well, I knew that, one, I'd be one of very few, but it's something that just really interests me. And I knew that be able to, if I can change one person's life for the better, that makes, it helps with my karma and it just makes the world a better place.
When you were growing up, had you seen a psychiatrist or a psychologist at all?
No, not in the Black community. I didn't know about the world of psychology until when I went to boarding school. I came from a West African family, so mental health it's just started getting talked about a couple months ago. There's this thing called Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And, the bottom of the need is your basic needs, which is like food and shelter and things like that. So if you don't have that need met, you can't really go more existential and think about you being depressed and stuff like that. So I didn't get introduced to the word psychology until my senior year in high school. And I was like, oh, this is what this is all about. And it just started interesting me. It just stuck with me.
What about college? Did you see any sports psychologist or psychiatrist when you were in college?
In college, I unfortunately did not. I was not able to see any of those individuals. I had friends and I had God, right? It wasn't until after when I really started to get into the field, when I started talking with other therapists and things like that I really started pushing for just mental health awareness. So after I graduated, I started getting a couple sessions, and I stopped for a while, and then I actually picked back up recently, just because I believe everybody needs to have an ear to listen to, and everybody needs to invest in their mental wealth. So I go once a month just because of my time frame. I wish I could go more, but I just don't have enough time to do so.
You say mental wealth.
Absolutely.
So your mental wealth is for people who, it's I would consider it like a tune-up. Like you don't really have any present issues, but just to someone, an ear.
Absolutely. I think mental wealth that's because everything comes from your mind. Everything that we're looking at, everything that we created comes from your mind. So you got to make sure that you're sharp. Life gets in the way, stressors get added, new things happen. And so we got to make sure that we're always, up to date and just sharpen with our mindset so we can be able to attack anything that comes our way.
So how did you get interested into the field specifically of sports psychology?
My experience being an athlete, especially a football player, and people expect you as a football player to to always not show vulnerability, always be able to bounce back from adversity just by yourself, and your coaches yell at you and things like that. I had a pretty good career, and I was there was some good expectations, but then what happens is when you don't meet those expectations, especially for our football players, life after football, you get lost. Because once you're done playing football, like organized football, you can't play a pickup game of tackle football. So once you're done, you're done. So, and then, so you spend a good portion of your life wanting to, go to the league or wanting to, be on these stages. And once you're done, then you start getting forgotten. And, especially after an injury and all these things. So what happens is you start suffering, in silence, especially back in the day. They just tell you toughen up, stop BITCH.
Man up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man up and just get it done. Rub some dirt on it, but something you can't rub dirt on. So when I started in my earlier years of just doing therapy, what attracted me was, just a common experiences and interests. I initially started seeing kids, children, adolescents, and teens for behavior problems, and sometimes like some of the kids were athletes, and they had an injury and like either from a concussion or just something, or like from like a knee injury, and now they're sitting. Now they're not used to this adversity, and it was hard for these individuals for anybody to reach them because they didn't really understand, and they didn't want to express themselves. So I started getting a lot more success from that. And after I started getting success from dealing with, initially it was my football players, from high school or kids from college or anything like that, or even the young peewee kids, I started really getting a niche with that, and just word of mouth started spreading, for just my talent in that. And then I started just seeing all different types of sports. So, cause I'm real big with dealing with, helping deal with anxiety, helping to, deal with your performance. Sports started getting around. I started seeing gymnasts. Like gymnasts was a big niche for me. A lot of these girls,
And they're really young too.
Yeah. A lot of these girls and boys, they just exhibit so much anxiety after they may have done like a nasty fall, and they have a hard time dismounting. So I started being able to talk with those individuals to help get through that fear. So then I added on gymnastics. Then I would have baseball players, and it started, it was all different levels from peewees all the way up to pros, that just needed some guidance.
Can you briefly, I guess, go into sports psychology, what it is for people who may not know what it is, never heard of it, or like know what it actually is you do with different athletes at different various aspects of the field, and how long the field has been around?
Understanding about the importance of, performance and just overall mindset health in your sports, in the sports world. It can go ranging from like, when individuals are having, slumps in baseball or anything like that, like their mindset is not there, and they need that just extra help, that extra just non-judgmental person that's not their coach, not their parents, not their individuals like that can be able to help them overcome just a mental blockage. Also with injuries as well, a lot of times individuals feel, after an injury, they feel like they're not going to be the same person or same player like they were prior to it. So again, that morale is down so much, and they just need, again, it's about overcoming that block. It's been around for a while. I mean, a good portion, but I think it's been more in the forefront over these past 5 to 7 years. The evolution of the game, the evolution of our mindsets, and the more the awareness of mental health, increased suicide. For football, it's really been really big over these past 5 to 7 years because of the awareness of concussions and how that can really plague us who played this game. It's a field, it's a growing field. It's a field that's gonna continue to grow, and it's gonna continue to help out as many people as possible and on all levels. I see a big growth in the developmental years, because what's happening is I see a lot of kids dealing with burnout at a younger and younger age.
Kids who only play one sport year round.
Yep. Yeah. So it's usually around high school age, like around 9th or 10th grade, when all they're playing, like I have some kids, like all they play is basketball. So they have, they have the AAU leagues, and they have the fall, then they have the regular winter leagues. Then the pressure is added even more because, around high school time, now it's time to really be serious, so you can start picking a college and things like that. So that gets added on there, and then they start losing the love of the game because it's just feels like work, not fun. So I've been seeing like some increase in burnouts prior to COVID. A lot of our athletes, I have a couple of athletes who were looking forward to their sports season to happen because they needed a scholarship. They needed a little extra recognition so they can be able to reach that next level. And now their season's canceled. Their season is reduced. It's playing a big part in their mental health and then learning how to, overcome that, how to adjust.
There still is a stigma regarding mental health. Do you find that patients who come to see you, or let's say their parents suggest that you sometimes have to take time building the trust with some of your clients so they'll basically understand that there's nothing wrong with seeking help?
Yeah. Well, a lot of people come to me because I can build a rapport really, really quick with especially with the younger kids and the teens, because I'm very up to date with things, with how the world is working and stuff like that. I like to consider myself a cool guy, so so they're more open to talking with me than maybe somebody that may not understand sports or may not be as younger. Rapport is important for anything in therapy, because if they don't like me, they're not going to listen to me. If they don't respect me, they're not going to listen to me. So the first 2 sessions, I'm really big on just solidifying that rapport.
Season 3, we will continue the new segment called Ask the Doc. If you have any questions related to musculoskeletal injuries or musculoskeletal health, go to my website, www.weoulifewelove.com. Click on the tab Voicemail, leave your voicemail, and select Messages will be aired and answered on the segment. Now, back to the show. So I was doing some research on sports psychology and ways that athletes of all levels could benefit. Mm-hmm. And I come up with a few examples. I'm going to just, list the example and give an example from my sports experience or just a general sport. And you tell me what treatment or how would you address their situation. So the first thing I saw was it improves focus and helps deal with distractions. Say a baseball player is an example. Instead of them worrying about they're at bat and instead of them worrying about the hit, they're worrying about the last game they lost or the fact that they're running slow and they don't know if they're going to make it to first base. How do you help your athletes to kind of focus at the task at hand?
So what I always tell my athletes is to play with amnesia. Okay. So what that means is that, all we have control of is the here and the now. You can look in the past, but when you start living in it, that's when you start to lose focus. You're starting to live in the past, and then we have to get you back grounded. The main thing I really work with them on is how we can learn how to play with amnesia. So not allowing that past to plague us for our future.
Another one is growing confidence in athletes who have doubt. They're talented, but they don't believe in themselves, or they compare themselves to someone else. Well, I can give you a scenario, like me, for instance. I'm a triathlete, but I'm not the best swimmer in the world. So I just learned to swim in 2018. So every time, it's particularly open water swim, I freak out. I know I can swim, but people around me, kicking me, hitting me, the fact that, you don't know how deep the water is. And even today, I went back to swimming class, and I've been swimming I swam 4 times. I had surgery 2 months ago. So I've been swimming in a 4-foot pool. So today I swam in a regular pool with a deep part. And even though I know I can swim, when the ground got a little bit lower, it's something in my mind, even though it's something in my mind. I'm it's deeper. I don't know why, but.
So helping people build confidence, there's one thing I do. It's called solution focus. It's not focused on the problems of times when you're failing. We focus on the times when you're succeeding. And what we have to do, you have to dissect that and duplicate that. Why am I confident in this situation? All right. And how can I duplicate that into, a certain time when I may not be? And what it does, we remember the negativity a lot more than positives. Yeah, so we feel like, okay, every single time I miss the ball, every single time I'm not good in the deep water. And we forget about those couple times when we are fine with it. We have to shift that mindset more towards the times when we're getting these things done.
So you throw people into situations that are not uncomfortable, like me swimming with a whole bunch of people before a race.
Mm-hmm.
So when I get in a race, I don't freak out.
So systematic desensitization would be little by little.
Okay.
It's not even throwing you in the deep end. It's like you're chilling in the 4 foot and you're chilling, you're fine. You're chilling. And then you little by little, you're going in, you're going down. And what it does, it helps build that confidence that you are fine. You are okay. We have to break that fear. Anxiety is the fear of the unknown, right? A lot of times when we try to look away from it, it becomes a boogeyman. It becomes a lot bigger than it needs to be. So the goal is to face that boogeyman, face that big bad wolf, and realize that it's just a puppy, or the boogeyman is just a coat in the closet. We just find different ways we process it to kind of help desensitize you to that situation.
And another one was developing coping skills to deal with setbacks. How do you help your clients, especially professional? Because I remember when I went to the Eagles Bears game, what was that? The playoff game, when the field goal kicker it hit the upright and fell off, and I was so happy, and everybody around me wanted to kill me because I was the only Eagles fan in the area.
Yeah.
And they were like, people on social media were like issuing death threats to this.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, that was definitely tough. I mean, with field goal kickers, they are either the hero or the sacrificial lamb. So I give them all props to just that amount of stress that they have to deal with. But again, I think your initial question was just, what are some coping skills we can give some athletes to help them when they're going.
Like, I guess it's kind of the amnesia again. Like you forget about that and move on.
Yeah, but it is a lot easier said than done. So I try to get them to also remember the power of their words, right? Words are very powerful, right? Whoever says sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. They're a liar, because words are a powerful thing. So it's about understanding what are they saying to themselves, because you have to realize that, you're the most influential person in your life, right? You've been talking to yourself since you're in your mom's womb, all the way to you're going to be gray in the hair. The importance of what you say to yourself will trump anything that any coach or any friend will ever say, because, your body is that machine in your mind, and what you're saying to yourself helps that machine move left and right, or move around. So if you're telling yourself, a lot of times we're not aware of just the negativity that we're saying to ourselves. I can't do it. I can't do it. I'm going to miss this. I'm going to miss this. And what happens is you do a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? If you have like a math test on Wednesday and it's on Monday, and you're like, I suck at math. I'm not good at math. Like, I'm not going to pass this test. Monday, you know what you're going to do? You're not going to pay attention. Tuesday, you're not going to do the homework. You're not going to get good sleep. Wednesday, your mind's going to go blank, and guess what? You failed the test. See, I knew it. I'm no good, right? So it's really important about what we say to ourselves. And so we can get into a much more positive self-fulfilling prophecy than anything. The main thing that I try to focus my athletes on is just the power of their words and what they're saying to themselves. What are some affirmations that they're saying, to get them focused? What's their routine? Get them into a better muscle memory, having them trust their muscle memory. Because, a lot of times when something like this does happen, when a ball player misses the easy layup, when a receiver misses a ball, it gets in their head, and then they forget that. And I ask them, I'm like, how many times have you done a layup in your career? Mm-hmm. They're like, I can't count, billions of times. How many times have you caught a ball? Billions of times. Exactly. So it's safe to say that that your body,
you know how to do it. Yeah.
Right.
You have the
exactly. You practice every single day. You drill every single day to have this in your muscle memory. Now, the only thing that's stopping your muscle memory from fully working is your thoughts, your you. So we work on ways how we can be able to help them, trust in their muscle memory. And it goes from just little by little. Sometimes you gotta get back to the basics, like you just said. You did in some classes, right? We get back to the basics so we can remember that we can trust our muscle memory. And then, and it builds that confidence, systematic desensitization, right? It's building that confidence up. And what we're saying to ourselves, all right, I got this. What's going to be some affirmations. All right, boom, I'm going to win a chip this year. I'm going to win a chip this year. Have those words in our heads to keep us focused, keep us grounded, so we can be able to perform at the optimal level.
Something I do is when I'm in a race and I freak out, I say these mantras, like something as simple as I can swim. Because I freak out, and then I like remind myself that no matter what, no matter how slow I am, no matter how somebody kicked me in the head, I can swim and I'm not going to drown.
Absolutely. But that's so true. And you remind yourself that because the most influential person in your life is giving you that affirmation. And what it does, it gives you that confidence, it gives you that energy, and it gives you that focus to finish, your task.
Another one is find the right zone of the intensity for your sport. And the example I was thinking is, say your football season. I'm thinking NFL, like regular season versus playoff versus Super Bowl. So, I mean, your intensity is on 10 in the playoffs and Super Bowl, but you need to stay focused, because I know a lot of people choke in a big game because the moment is too big for them. And you need to realize, even though it is a bigger game, it's still a game. You still need to go about the same kind of processes.
Absolutely. It's all about preparation and routine. Again, you got to activate your muscle memory, right? And the only way to activate your muscle memory is through that consistency. Making sure you have that good preparation before a game. You know what I mean? So you can help yourself, like having the same playlist. If you're a music listener, you're listening to, I have some people who listen to the same 3 songs on an away game, same 3 songs on a home game, to get themselves focused and in the zone and ready to play. Limit the distractions. Routine is going to be so important to allow you to, again, have the best, performance with your muscle memory.
And something else I read, which I didn't realize, that sometimes the sport psychologists can help the team as far as their communication and their cohesiveness. That you'll actually have sessions with the coach and the coaches. I didn't realize that was a part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, chemistry is so important for team sports. You can have great players, but if they don't mesh well together, it's not going to work out. So it's so important to have that chemistry. You got to trust, your teammates, because, for football, you got to trust the person next to you. The quarterback has to trust these linemen, the left tackle, that blindside lineman, that he's going to make sure that he is safe. It's important to have that chemistry and to be able to communicate well, because when it is time to perform, you're going to need to have that nonverbal communication, that verbal communication, knowing your teammates when it's time to set up a pick, who's better for that pick and roll, right? It's important to know, how your teammate thinks, because it eliminates that extra reaction time that may have been needed in order to do that jumper, in order to run that route, like a well-oiled machine. If the pieces aren't moving well together, it's not going to run smoothly. It's like with a car. Like if something's rattling your engine, it's just not going well, you're not going to be able to go to top speed, because, it might fall apart. It might break down. But, if your car is running at the optimal level and everything is running right, you can go at your top speed and feel comfortable with that.
That makes sense. Another one is improve or balance motivation for optimal performance. Basically, know your why. There's not a lot of athletes, like particularly, I'm sure, college and adolescents, they may play a particular sport because their parents want them to, or they think it's cool, but they're not really into it. Or their parent may want them to go pro, so they had them playing the same sport year round, and they want to play something totally different. So I know that's
absolutely. When you're in a sport for a longer period of time, you start to either lose that initial why, and you need to be able to find a different one. I mean, I was watching a documentary for Michael Jordan, The Last Stand. He always tried to find a why. I remember a game, the Bulls didn't win, and the person from another team told, after the game, told Michael, hey, good game. Michael said he took that to offense. He said, I found that very disrespectful. So the next game, he shut that guy down to like 2 points, and the Bulls demolished that team. Every single game, he tried to find that why. A lot of times when you're playing, again, when you're playing in these higher levels, again, you start losing the love of it, and you start getting burnt out. You want to try something different. So, if you still want to continue it, you just need to find, okay, my why now is not, to do it for my mom or do it because my mom and dad's saying it. My why now is to maybe be able to make it to that next level. And if you do make it to that next level, that my why is to make it to a certain contract that I can be able to feed my family. I can be remembered, having a legacy. Success, I define it as leaving behind a legacy that you're proud of. Make that your why. Make your legacy, more and more of a prideful thing. Whenever they say your name, what do you want to be remembered as? What do you want to be remembered by?
Another reason to develop confidence post-injury. An example could be me, because I've had 10 million injuries, which I wrote a book called Run is Cheaper Than Therapy. And I had a plethora then, and I have continued to have them now. And I guess my last injury, which required me to have surgery, I was ski racing. And the last run, I took a bad fall. I hurt my knee, but it wound up being like a chronic issue because I could do stuff, but I couldn't run. Yeah. So I finally had surgery in December. And always after I go back, it's like I'm a little apprehensive of like going hard. And if I want to win, which I do, I got to get out there and like not think about my injury, because sometimes it's like you think about it so much and you make yourself more prone to get another injury.
Yep.
What would you tell an athlete in that situation?
You have to take a little by little. Don't try to go full speed if you're not ready yet. So that's why it goes with the systematic desensitization, little by little wins. You're walking, and if you feel comfortable walking, then you start power walking. Not even saying jogging. You start power walking and see how that's going. And you do that a couple more times, and then you start jogging. And then again, it allows you to pick up that confidence. Okay. All right. So I feel good with jogging. Let me do a short sprint. You know what I mean? I'm not doing a whole 100-yard dash. Let me do, 10 yards. Let's see what that is. Let me do some high knees, to see how my stability of my injury is going. Constant practice to help you feel confident in your performance. And then the hardest part is there's going to be different types of tests. After you do things by yourself, okay, I'm feeling confident. Now it's going to be all right with some obstacles. So for a football player, it would be like, okay, returning back to practice. You know what I mean? This is a whole nother level. How is it in practice speed that you feel confident with that? Now it's going to be game speed. Right. So after you conquer that, it's going to be, okay, now it's going to be like championship game speed. So it's different levels that you have to be cognizant of. Once you feel confident and, okay, I'm good in practice, it doesn't mean you take a step back and you stop doing your routine to help you continue to build that muscle memory, that confidence, because you feel like you already got it. But no, you have to continue that. You have to continue that mental strength, that mental training, that, that extra step to help you be at your optimal level.
What do you do with athletes say that they go through these steps, they get confidence, and they have a setback? It might be a minor setback, but that makes them a little apprehensive about going back to that higher step, even though they might just need to slow down a little bit. The
thing is, I love working with athletes. Athletes, we're competitive. We take a step back. It's more frustrating than anything. That's why I'm big with quotes and words. I tell them stepping stones, not gravestones, right? They're like, yeah, okay, all right, you still want to do this? Let's take a moment. Let's see what we can do to pivot. But don't allow this to end your career. Life's gonna throw these things at you. Whether on the court, on the field, or off the field, or off the court. So this is just a life lesson that you're dealing with, and we just continue processing through it. Once they start getting some wins under their belt, you start seeing that momentum start happening. And that's the key. We're trying to build momentum for them. And once you start building that momentum, it's just starts going. Again, there may be some setbacks, and okay, all right, let's build that momentum up again. And it's all about how much they want it, And so a lot of times there might be some people that they're just burnt out, and they may need to take a break from the sport. I've had some kids take a break from the sport.
Stress and anxiety can be crippling, but at the same time, it's that the anxiety that kind of makes it fun, that competitive edge, the not knowing, it makes you excited, but sometimes it's like the anxiety can be crippling. And I was reading this article about how instead of using that anxiety to motivate you, but not make it crippling. Because when we get excited, it turns on those endorphins that you need to get out there and compete, but some kind of way dissociated from the anxiety that can keep you from being high performance.
Absolutely. Anxiety is an emotion. We all have it. I can't tell people not to be anxious. When it's interfering with your daily living and it's interfering with your performance, that's when it needs to be worked on. So everybody gets those, before a game, you get those pregame jitters and everything like that. Then the butterflies in your stomach. You're supposed to have that. If you don't have that, it means you checked out. So you're supposed to have that. But if those butterflies turn to just not performing at your level, you're just shocked, and you're not doing anything, and you're frozen, you're freezing in your performance. Then that's when we have to work on that. I've had this catcher who was so anxious, that he was going to overthrow the ball to the pitcher, so he would just freeze every single time. And it's all because of this overthinking. We're overthinking, and we're psyching ourselves out. And so I try to help the individuals put more energy to what they have power over. So what I mean by this, I have them think that your mind is like a constant stream of consciousness. You're always thinking, right? Even when you're not thinking. Yeah, even when you're not thinking, you're thinking about not thinking. So you're always thinking. So I have them visualize it as like a river, right? So, when you visualize a river, it's always flowing, right? But let's just say you take red paint and you dump it in that river. Don't ever really do that. But let's just say for this, you take red paint, you dump it in that river, and you look down. What do you see? See the red paint, right? Let's just say if you wait about an hour and a half, and you look back down again, what do you see?
It should be
gone.
Should
be gone, right?
At least most of it.
Why?
Because the water in the river kind of overtakes the paint.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And the water's constantly flowing. And that's just like your mind.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times we're going to have these red paint thoughts that try to plague us for just a while, that, oh man, I don't think I can get this done. And sometimes all we need to do is just allow those thoughts to run through our body, allow it to run through our mind. What happens if you try to fight those thoughts, it plagues you more and more, right? A lot of people tell me, how can you stop me from thinking about, this thing? I'm like, I can't do it, because that's how your mind works. It's like me saying, don't think about a pink elephant in this room right now. Don't think about a pink elephant.
And that's what you think about when you say it.
Exactly. So it's about understanding what power that you have. You got to put energy to what you have control over. You can't control what goes on in your mind, but you can control how long you want it to stay. So it's about, and a lot of times when they start, when they have that realization of what power they're giving, what energy they're giving, this anxiety, it actually fixes itself. Because, awareness is the key to any type of change, and awareness is the key to help deal with anxiety and those types of just frozen type of moments.
I'm going to think about that. The paint in the river when I have an issue.
Yes, red paint in the river.
Part of my podcast is inviting guests who've overcome obstacles to make it to their finish line. What are some obstacles that you had to overcome, either professionally or personally? I know you mentioned you had a few injuries in college, your PCL, but what are some other injuries? It could be sports related as well.
Yeah, obviously the sports injuries is definitely a big obstacle. And, when you have a certain thought of where, where you want to go. Like my thought was, okay, I'm going to work really hard to try to at least become like a free agent, for the NFL and things like that. When that injury happens, it stops that thought and it has you realize, oh man, this is probably the last time I'm going to be playing this game. For career wise, I mean, that was a big obstacle. I had to realize that, when I'm done, when I was done, playing the game that I loved. I came from, West African family that immigrated over here back in the 80s. The 80s in New York was not like New York now. I mean, that was that was an obstacle itself, living life and trying to figure out going to eat, trying to figure out safety wise. So, it was definitely a lot in that aspect. One of my most recent obstacles is just the story of my daughter. My daughter, she's 2 years old right now, going to be 3. But just her life has been an obstacle. When she was born, she was 12 pounds. And if anybody, that's a female knows 12-pound baby that's about to be delivered that's going to give complication itself. She was delivered and she came out unresponsive. And when the doctor talked with us, they're saying, there could have been, there's chances of brain damage and there's going to be an arm paralysis called Erb's palsy. So, that was a big challenge. The good part about it is that the MRI showed that there was no brain damage. We found that out like a week and a half after. And yeah. And, with the arm paralysis, we did physical therapy to help strengthen that arm. And that arm's a strong arm now. She punches me with it and I allow it. That's her strong arm. And, so that was a big obstacle. And then, 8 months later, we found out she was diagnosed with cancer. She had what we call a neuroblastoma that was inside her lungs. We caught it, I would say maybe a month in time. If it was a month later, there would have been a 50-50 chance of survival. It was a 25 chance of survival when we caught it. It would have been a 50-50 chance if we waited a little longer. So, and I found out on my birthday through we have like the CHOP, like Children's Hospital, we have an app. So they just put it on there. They just put like oncology surgery on there. So we didn't, like, the doctor didn't tell us about the cancer. And so we found out about that just through my phone. So, those were challenges right there. But I have to, what I had to do is practice what I preach. I had to look at what I had control over and put energy to that. Give power to, one to God, but also, the surgeons and things like that. She's now, in remission, cancer free. So, which is great. But, at the end of the day, I still love life. Life is an amazing thing. Time is a blessing. It's a gift. I'm able to experience, and I can experience for those who can't experience any longer. So, whether good things or bad things, I'm able to experience it and overcome it. So that's how I look at it.
So through your life, people have poured into you. You mentioned going to a boarding school for at-risk youth. Mm-hmm. What are things that you do now to pour into other people, whether it be professionally or personally? Absolutely.
I've been trying to dedicate, my adult life to try to help out others. One doing therapy. That's one thing, because again, I live by quotes, right? And one of my quotes is, it was by Pablo Picasso. And he said, the meaning of life is to find your gift, but the purpose of life is to give that gift away. I was blessed enough to find my gift. Every opportunity possible, I try to give that gift away. I'm part of a couple organizations. I'm part of this organization called Black Men Heal, which is, it provides free therapy to Black men in the tri-state area. It helps break the stigma from mental health in the Black and brown communities, especially for our men who are suffering in silence. I do that. I'm also part of the Boris Henson Foundation, which is founded by Taraji Henson. We do cohorts of free therapy. We did that during COVID times. We were doing free therapy in the Black and brown communities, virtual therapy, and then also just giving opportunities to help break the stigma on mental health. I try to mentor as much as possible, with just any platform that I'm on, from Clubhouse, from Instagram, from anything like that. I try to provide, as much knowledge as possible.
So what would you tell my listeners who are athletes and feel that they would benefit from a sports psychologist, or anyone who would benefit from a psychologist? What's the best way to find one?
For anything for mental health, whether if it's sports psychology or whether if it's just dealing with life problems, I recommend anybody and everybody to find a therapist that fits with you. So a good way that you can do so, one is just, simple Psychology Today. Psychology Today is one of the biggest platforms and directories of finding a therapist in your area. And it lets you know if they take insurance or not, or how much they charge, or anything like that. So that's one of the main things. Also, again, the Boris Henson Foundation, we have a directory as well, for individuals of color. Therapy for Black girls, that's a good one. Okay. Black Men Heal. And also, if anybody has any questions, you can always just find me on Instagram, at Fonz the Therapist. People DM me all the time to try to, navigate them, to finding, a therapist as well. For the sports portion, depending on your level of performance, a lot of teams have an affiliated, sports performance, psychologist, sports sports behaviorists. I know in the NFL, they've been working with that, with having that, and the higher schools, the higher up schools, more the D1 schools, I know they're starting to have one on staff as well. But yeah, if anybody has any questions, again, just, you can just always just, find me on any of the platforms from Instagram, Facebook. You can Google Brightside Counseling. You can Google Alphonso Nathan, and I can help you out.
I know you have your different programs that you're affiliated with. They can't afford mental health services, or their insurance doesn't cover it. What's the best route to look for someone, maybe with a pro bono, or like residents in training, or different routes that they can?
Those directories I was telling you about, there are a lot of therapists who provide either a sliding scale, which is, if you can't afford their full rate, they can work with you on what that looks like. Also, there are many therapists on those sites that do provide some pro bono counseling. A lot of organizations, if you look at community mental health organizations, which they're going to start becoming much more improved, with, which I think with a lot of funding that should be happening. Mental health is in the forefront of everybody's mind. There's going to be a lot of funding that's going to be added into this community mental health centers, and anybody can get therapy. Also, if you're in school, your student service center, you can look at there. There's so many options now. There's been so many directories and so many organizations that are popping up because just the need for it is happening all over.
Any last minute words of advice or quotes that you would like to share with my listeners?
I have millions of quotes. Let's see. Lions don't lose sleep over the opinion of sheep. The meaning of life is to find your gift, but the purpose of life is to give that gift away. A smart man learns from his own mistakes, but a wise man learns from the mistakes of others. Those are all quotes. But what I would say, from just the listeners is that if you're, you don't have to suffer in silence. It doesn't make you weak to ask for help. It makes you much stronger to do so. And just know that there's help out there, and there's people out there willing to help you out. We are individuals who evolve, and just knowing that this situation that we're in right now is not going to kill us. It's going to make us stronger. It's going to make us smarter. It's going to make us faster. It's going to make us, wiser. And just know that the situation you're in right now doesn't need to be the situation that you're going to be in forever.
You need to write a book of quotes, so put them together.
I know. All this free time I got, right?
Thank you for joining me. I enjoyed our discussion.
Thank you.
That wraps up this episode of Running is Cheaper Than Therapy podcast. Thank you for tuning in. If you already haven't, please download Running is Cheaper Than Therapy podcast on Apple, Spotify, or however you listen to your favorite podcast. If you have any questions, concerns, or possible show topics, please email Run It Is Cheaper Than Therapy, OLB, Omaha Love Brown. Again, that's Run It Is Cheaper Than Therapy, Omaha Love Brown @gmail.com. I also can be reached via Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Handle We Life, We Love. OUI Life, OUI Love. Thank you, and please tune in again.